your backyard. I just want to put it out there now. My county is 5,500 square miles. I share 114 miles of international boundary with the Republic of Mexico and a couple miles with the Republic of California. So I got border issues coming at me from both sides. You know what's sad is when we listen to our federal partners from Border Patrol, we work together side by side each and every day. I've got 98 deputies to cover 5,500 square miles with a population of roughly 200,000 plus. Add another 100,000 on top of that during the winter visitor season as well as the winter vegetable season for agricultural workers. So close to 300,000. What's scary is what you just heard earlier. The entire population of Yuma County has also been the amount of getaways that are now in our country. We don't know what country they're from. That's over 145 different countries that they have identified under apprehension. For Yuma County, we're like the third worst right now, again, unfortunately, in regards to the humanitarian crisis that we're experiencing with the family units. So far, Border Patrol has apprehended over 50,000 family units just in my county. When you talk about the getaways that were mentioned, more than 64,000 in this state. 4,500 were identified just in my county. I don't know where they're from. I don't know if these individuals are looking at another 9/11 situation. We have no idea. And the sad situation is the fact that this administration was approached when us sheriffs learned that they were going to stop the MPP and remain in Mexico under a pandemic. So we got a hold of this administration. We did. We got a hold of them and said, what are you doing? We've restricted 26 plus different countries from coming into the United States because we're under a pandemic. We're all being asked to stay home, don't go to work. But now you're going to allow individuals to come into this country. Are you testing for COVID? No, Sheriff, we're not. Are you doing DNA testing on these kids to ensure that these aren't recycled children like we experienced before? No, Sheriff, we're not. That's scary, ladies and gentlemen. That is really scary because we're all under a pandemic, but this administration felt it was okay to actually allow individuals to come into this country illegally. And then because they had no plan, of course they told us they had a plan. I don't know what that was other than to ruin the situation where everybody was now going to get re-exposed because a lot of the countries had a worst case scenario with the COVID than we did. So look at Border Patrol stats. The figures don't lie. October is the start of the federal fiscal year. October in Yuma County, Border Patrol apprehensions were like 25. November, December, 30, 39, 40. When the migrant protection protocol stopped and they started allowing individuals in March, it jumped over 250. Now, we have reached days where we have 500 apprehensions a day in my county. Now, initially, we had the 200, and then they had like 250 unaccompanied children at our Border Patrol station because we knew 10-year-olds and younger that are coming across by themselves and then turn themselves into Border Patrol. They didn't have the facilities to handle this. HHS was already inundated. Our concern came to fruition with the fact that Border Patrol and ICE, because they had been gutted, had no plan, they had no infrastructure in place. Border Patrol, because of COVID rules, couldn't hold so many people. They ended up releasing 1,300 immigrants into our community without being COVID tested. And the sad thing is, they also released them at a bus stop. We don't have a bus station in Yuma. You have a bench over by the Jack in the Box for the bus to come. The mayor of Yuma got a call because there was a number of immigrants that were left at the airport, but they had no plane tickets. The airport in Yuma doesn't stay open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They didn't know what to do. That's what this administration did to a small rural border county right along the U.S.-Mexico border initially. They had no plan, but they said they did. Now, everything that you see and hear from everybody today is orchestrated by the cartels. It has been since day one, and it has not changed. People to them are a commodity. That's all they are. $6,000 a piece, minimum, unless you're from a special interest terrorist country, then it's up to $15,000 per person to get smuggled across the border. Doesn't matter whether you're an adult or a juvenile. You talk about indentured servitude. If you want a room when you get across that has air conditioning, they put bracelets on the individuals, different colors. That dictates what you get when you come across. The problem is, for everything that they get when they get across the border, they are now indentured to that cartel until they can pay off that debt. They're doing that in your communities, not in mine. They're not staying in Yuma. For anybody that had the opportunity to listen to the roundtable with Border Patrol, every one of these folks, and we've got them from Romania, Cuba, Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, some from Uzbekistan. We've seen it, the gamut. And majority of what we have right now is not from Mexico, from other countries. They are going to Connecticut, Oregon, Washington, New York, Washington, D.C. They're going everywhere. The Carolinas. They're not staying in Yuma. They're not staying in Cochise. If they are, it's a very, very small number. They're coming into your communities, and they're going to get embedded into your communities. And our federal government is giving them a trip there. And now what you've heard is, if they're waiting on their case, they're going to now use tax dollars to fly in the rest of their families into your community, which will now be a burden on your community and your tax dollars. Why should you kid? One of the ongoing problems that we're running into, we've seen it before, I have personally. I've been with the Sheriff's Office for 37 years now. I was stationed in the Marine Corps in Yuma, stayed there, got out. Kind of mirrors the same as Sheriff Daniels, so I've grown up in Yuma County. The cartels along that border are now finding that it's so lucrative, especially across the border of mine, that I have 3 different factions of cartels from the Sinaloa cartel. One faction are the 2 sons of Chapo Guzman. That's right across San Luis. We've already had 68 murders on the other side of the border in the city of San Luis, Mexico. There were 88 politicians that were running for office that were killed by the cartels because they didn't want to cooperate with the cartel. Every day we're seeing violence. Yesterday, when I was done with the board meeting at NSA, my command staff got a hold of me because a 47-year-old was trying to cross the river, seen Border Patrol, ran back. He was caught by the cartel, who asked him, "Why didn't you pay?" They then covered his face, they beat him, and they shot him in the face and left him for dead. An 18-year-old drug him across into the United States, so now that individual is in our hospital. It's all going to impact your community. If the U.S. attorney, which we're fighting again, doesn't start prosecuting cases, it's going to get dumped on the counties and the municipalities. Because the bottom line is you have to have a consequence delivery. Otherwise, those individuals will be set free to do the same thing again. 0506, we had 298 backpackers in my jail, illegals who were smuggling marijuana. That cost our county millions of dollars. Every one of those were prosecutable cases. They went to prison for 2.5 years, but it's something that the U.S. Attorney's Office don't. And if we didn't take that case, those individuals would have been set free after the feds seized their goat to continue doing the same thing. That was a fear that we had again. Now, my Border Patrol partners, last month, intercepted 3 different groups of 6, smuggling, wearing camouflage, smuggling in over 300 pounds of methamphetamine. The U.S. Attorney's Office wasn't going to charge them. This is narcotics that are coming across and killing our communities. Because I've seen this coming, I've seen it before. I deputized our DEA agents that have to take those cases because the federal government wouldn't. So now I have 15 backpackers in my jail costing our county money for smuggling narcotics into the United States. That's what we're dealing with down in my county. So I'm dealing with the drug smuggling. Our family advocacy centers are being utilized because the females and the juveniles are being raped and molested on their journey here. They report that to Border Patrol when they're apprehended. Border Patrol and our federal partners don't have those resources. They take them to our family advocacy centers to get the test kits done, to get the exams done. And we as local law enforcement have to take that case. I have already had to respond and recover 10 individuals that have been left to die by the cartels out in my remote county. Now you look at Yuma County, I have a majority of the Colorado River till it diverts into Mexico. Then the rest of my county along the international boundary is desert. I have 2 tribal nations, a lot of BLM land, and I have the Berry-Golar Water Range, which all of our military forces train at before they're deployed over into other countries. So it's a lot of bombing range. These cartels are telling people that it's only a couple miles. They take them out on Highway 2, which borders right along our border, and tells them you only got a couple miles, you'll be okay, just go that way. I just recently had another 45-year-old, day before yesterday, that died out in the desert. Prior to that, we had 2 20-year-old females that were just left. Now these groups aren't reporting this until they get to where they're trying to get to because they don't want to be apprehended. That's why they're coming through the remote deserts. So these people are left abandoned. That's the compassion that we deal with every day. I myself, in 2001, had to pick up and process a crime scene that was about 1.5 miles in diameter, where 14 illegal Indians were left by a smuggler to die. And I had to process in 115-degree heat 14 different victims that had died out in our desert. That's what we were telling this administration was going to happen. And now we're seeing it come to fruition. So to say that this administration is being truthful is a lie. It's just a bull-faced lie. But sheriffs, we're all about, here's a problem and here's a solution. I'm going to leave you with this. For every person here, you know 5, at least. And you know other people that live in other states. We need you to share this message. But you know what helps us even more is if you start hitting those telephones, to start calling each and every senator and rep in Washington, D.C. and demand that they stand for the rule of law, border security, public safety, and humanitarian. Those are the things that the sheriffs stand for. And they need to stand side by side and protect the United States of America. So that will be the end. I've got a lot more, but I know we're pressed for time. So, what? Thank you, Sheriff. I have the honor and distinct pleasure of introducing our next speaker, who's going to speak for about 5 minutes. I do want to say that Sheriff Donahue has been a great partner for us. And I want to thank our Angel families that are here today too. If we can give them a big hand. Because sheriffs are with you 100%. Sheriff Donahue, unfortunately, just joined those wrecks, ladies and gentlemen, not too long ago. So, Sheriff Donahue.
Thank you, Sheriff. I'll stay away from your nickname that the other sheriff asked me to talk about.
Don't do it.
I won't. I respect you too much. So I'll be real brief, and I know several of you in this room know that I'm down here, have been for several years, working with my colleagues, working with Mark and Leon and many others about bringing the story of what happens in this border to America. And before NBC really went to hell on us and kind of kicked us to the curb, actually brought down my NBC affiliate about 4 years ago, Mark. And I brought them down, and we filmed down here with Mark. We filmed what was going on, and we were able to take that story back to not just Idaho, but across America. And actually went really, really well. And then after that, we started the border to backpack program with Mark, right? Borders to backyard. So you can do that. Those sheriffs in this room, Mark has spoke about it, others spoke about it. It's a call to action, and I really impress upon you that you need to do that, because what we showed in that film was that everything that happens on this border was happening 1,200 miles away north in my community. And as an undercover officer for many years, a task force officer with the FBI, all I saw was cartel shit, and that's all we still see is cartel shit in my communities in the Treasure Valley and right next to Boise. We're a thoroughfare, a depository. Now we are distributing dope everywhere in the United States from my county, and it all comes from right here. And we track that dope, and we specifically mark how that's going up through our communities. And the story, before I tell you the story about the personal story, I can tell you that DEA just did an analysis as a part of our HIDA program in Idaho. It probably surprised you that we're in Idaho, we're one of the 33 HIDAs in the United States. We're one of those HIDAs. There's that much dope moving through our community that's coming right here from this border. We just did an analysis, DEA. We've never seen such an amazing number of pills coming through, and they're not even selling them, they're giving them out in our communities in Idaho and the Treasure Valley. They're establishing a base of clients by giving them fentanyl, giving them the M30 pills you're just talking about. But the most recent analysis, 1 in every 4 pills has a legal dose. Just in Boise, Idaho, 1 in every 4 pills. So you have a 25% chance of dying if you're a teenager and you're going to take that pill instead of go get drunk. And that's the kind of overdoses we're seeing. That's how incredible these guys are, and they're right. They are better than the CIA. They're better than any marketing we've ever seen in the world. But I can tell you how personal it is, and these families, and I respect you. I tip my hat to you, what you're going through. About 4 weeks ago, roughly, I was in Reno at the Western State Sheriff's Office with a lot of men and women in this room. And the last day of that conference, I got a call from my niece saying that my nephew was dead, and that he'd been killed by a drunk driver. So we finished out our conference. I jumped in my truck, my wife and I were driving north, right, trying to get there to help him out. These are people who are not accustomed to what we do in business, right? These are good American people, agricultural cattle ranchers and cattle buyers, and their son, 22 years old, had been taken from them by a drunk driver driving a semi, and he's an illegal alien. Illegal alien driving a semi with a .0224 alcohol level at 8:30 at night. And he was coming down the road from one of the most beautiful places in the country, where you're going, Sheriff, up in Valley County. And as he came into Boise, it's a T intersection. There's nowhere to go. He never stopped him, 70, 75 miles an hour. And he killed that kid. He sent him out through an F-350 truck. He drove right through it. Broke the semi in two. And unfortunately, I had to go claim that kid. I had to go claim his family because I couldn't let my family go do that. I did all the funeral arrangements. I set everything up. I spoke at his funeral. 22 years old. That man has been driving in our country illegally, and he's driving for a company in Laredo, Texas. We know the company. We're going after the company because what they're doing is putting those people on the roadways, and they're killing your family members, killing my family members. And if they can kill a family member of the sheriff, of the National Sheriff Association, they can kill yours, right? And that's just part of the story. And it's tough. It's tough on that group my family, and there's several people in this room who've talked to them, and how are they doing? They're devastated, right? And when people across this country, and I speak nationally as well, on many issues, and when people say, how bad is it, Mark? When those people say, well, what crisis? You're a freaking idiot. That's what you need to be saying to these people. And they say it to you, so you're a goddamn idiot. You're a fool. And I don't even want to talk to you, because you're an idiot. I say it all the time. I even say it on the news. I get in trouble too, but it doesn't bother me at all. I mean, do what you're going to do to me. All right? They do need it. They need when every one of us sheriffs to go back and talk to all of our sheriffs and get them down here. I'm embarrassed to say I'm the only Idaho sheriff down here. Right? I'm embarrassed to say that. It's too bad, and I apologize to the rest of you, but we'll bring the rest of them down. So thank you for what you all do. Thank you, sheriffs. Thank you for putting this organization together, and thank you for putting this rally together tonight.